Before we get into the new business, I'd like to have you, there's some questions I guess maybe you could clarify.
I would love to.
Water, jail, taxes, etc., wherever you want
I
to
figured
start.
that would be on the list, right?
Yeah,
You want me to just kind of go through a little bit, and then
Yeah.
it'll create a bunch of questions, I'm sure, and then we could probably talk all night. I think the most important thing to you guys is in regard to the sales tax sharing agreement that we have. We're proposing some changes to that. County government has two ways of getting money. There's only two ways. One of them is through property taxes, and one of them is through sales tax. The government, state government, has basically given us a tax cap in regard to our first way of getting money in terms of property taxes. Up until now, we would have raised more than, we would have gone over the tax cap if we had to, because we might have had to. So when we thought we were going to be close, we would sign a resolution or pass a resolution that allowed us to do that, and the state had there was no consequence to doing that. We actually never did go over that tax cap, but it was an option. If we needed to do it, we could do it. Well, now the state has put some money towards that, so it's going to be $1 to $3 million that we would lose if we go over the tax cap. So it's not an option to go over the tax cap, because everything you gain, you're going to have to give back to the state and pay something that they mandated that they don't want to pay for. So it kind of eliminates that to the degree above the tax cap that we could get funds from there. So the only other option is sales tax. I will tell you that Genesee County is the most generous county in the state when it comes to what they do for the towns and villages. I know you don't want to hear that, but it is a fact that the towns and villages in Genesee County have the lowest town and village tax rates in the state. And it's mostly because the county's been very generous in regard to, and again, I don't have anything to do with this, it's just fact. Over the last couple of decades, we've shared 50% of the sales tax with the city, towns, and villages. As an example, Orleans County shares 8%. Wyoming County shares 0%. Across the state, there are only, the other thing we do for the towns and villages is we take care of all the bridges and culverts. There are only 3 counties in the state that take care of the bridge and culverts on behalf of the towns and villages. And none of those 3 share any sales tax with their towns and villages. I only tell you this so you understand it, and you can yell at me if you want, I'm fine with it. But it puts us in a position where the county has not spent the money that it needs to on roads and bridges. We are behind in that regard. We need bridges to drive over. We have a capital budget of that now finally, and now we got to find a way to fund it. But more importantly, the jail is what's kind of pushing us towards changing the sales tax agreement. We know we needed to build a jail now probably for 2 decades. When I say we, the county, I think we all knew it. I've only been around for 4 or 5 years, but there was nowhere to save money for this. We pushed it off as long as we possibly could, and New York State's saying you're not pushing it off any longer. I don't know what it's going to cost, but I'm sure 50 million is plus or minus really close. How does a small community of 60,000 people come up with $50 million? We're going to find out, and in part we're going to do that with sales tax. So the proposal that we gave to you guys, what we're going to do is we're going to cut the city from 16 down to 14 in a complicated formula that happens over time. And we understand that the sales tax that we provide to you guys is really important to your budget. It's the majority of your budget. So we didn't want to dent what we were giving. What we've done was we said, okay, we will at least give you what we've been giving you in the past, base year being 2017 or 18? 18. So what we said is we're not going to take anything from you, but we're going to use the sales tax growth to fund primarily the jail as well as the capital infrastructure of roads and bridges that we've been neglecting over the years. So that is how we got to where we are now. You guys are saying we live off that money, we need it. I get it. Yell at me, please.
Now the breakdown, you want to give it to us again, the percentage. Started at 100%, the county gets what, half?
County gets half, state gets half. And then of our half, county gets half, city gets 16%, towns and villages get 34%. That's how it has been in the past.
Not that percentage of the whole thing, but half the pie.
We give half the pie to the state, and then we split our half of the half with the towns and villages and the city.
Okay.
There's been some discussion about the city one of the things, the city has leverage in a couple of, we'll get into water unless you have more questions about tax, but we like to keep water separate from sales tax, but it's never been separate. I always wanted it to be, it always comes to play. And in fact, that's partly why, so the only person that can go and collect their own sales tax is a city. Towns and villages cannot. So the city can preempt, and they could go collect their own. Now, everybody knows that most of the retail and whatnot has come out of the city, so that if they were to do that, they probably wouldn't get the full 16% that we've been giving them. So the negotiations we've had with them reduce them down to 14%. Could they get that if they preempted? Some would say yes, some would say no. Nobody knows. The state won't share any of that information with anyone. But that's how we got from 16 to 14% with the city. And again, we continue to give whatever we gave in 2018 to the towns and villages, and we're going to try to use the growth to fund those other couple of things, infrastructure and the jail.
The city won't be capped, correct? They're going from 16 to 14, but they won't be capped at 2018 rate.
I don't know the answer to that. I should know the answer, and I don't.
That's my understanding, but
Maybe I'll shoot a text off here in a second and
Okay.
try to find that out, right? Because it's an important question, I get that. I haven't looked at this in a while, and I wish we would have talked sooner, that's my fault.
Couple of quick questions. You were talking about there's only two ways for the county to get money, that's sales tax and property tax.
Yes.
That's the same for towns.
Yep.
We only get sales tax and property tax. You also talked about the 2%, that if you don't hold the 2%, that'll cost you money. Well, if the only way you get money is from sales tax and property tax, where does it cost you money?
No, we can only get 2% is my point. We can't raise property taxes more than 2%. If we do, then they're gonna make us pay for what's called raise the age, a new mandate from the state. It's gonna cost us $1 to $3 million. We'd have to raise the property tax rate substantially over, to raise it is silly because we're just gonna have to use that money to pay the $1 to $3 million the state's gonna. There was no teeth in the property cap. There was no teeth at all. Now there is.
Is that the same for towns, or is that only at the county
It is
level?
not the same for towns. There is no teeth to the property tax cap for the towns.
Alright. Now, one of the things that probably gives us the most problem is the length of the agreement. That you want it for 40 years, so that would be like, what, 1978? Or 88?
A long time from now.
Yeah.
So here's the deal with that. I'm sorry, do you
78.
have more to the question? Do you have more to the question? I'm sorry.
No, that's it, is that we think that 40 years is an awfully long time to have a agreement like that holds us to one amount.
Sure. We didn't choose the 40 years, the city did. And the city has leverage. Again, I try to separate water and sales tax, but you can't. The other problem we have on the other side of the equation is that this county's running out of water. And we need to get more water into this county, and it's expensive to do that. The best place to get money from this is from the city of Batavia, because most of the users are in the city of Batavia. So the plan for water is for water to pay for water. No additional taxes. We're going to find a way to have water pay for water, and the way that's going to happen is a surcharge per 1,000 gallons to the users of the water. Without the city, we can't do that. If we don't come to an agreement with the city, the water plant in the city of Batavia has to be upgraded, $5 to $10 million. I know that's a big range, but that's what I'm told. I don't know, a lot of money to, and it's useless because we're going to be bringing all this water in from Monroe County. It's $5 to $10 million that we're throwing away. And oh, by the way, we have to pay for it because we're contractually obligated to run the plant should the city want us to run the plant. Again, I didn't make that agreement. So there's really no option for us to not get the city on board. And if the city wants a 40-year agreement, again, that's where water and sales tax tie, and they will not allow us to do anything but a 40-year agreement, we have to do a 40-year agreement.
As I understand it, you can't get a loan for this amount of money for the interest rate that you want for less than 40 years. That's why all these water districts have 38-year agreement. The only way.
Probably true, but I don't tie the two together. I've never heard it tied together. I would bet that that's true, but that's not why we want 40 years. We don't want 40, I don't know that we care what.
The banker's gonna demand it.
And that may be the case. And we gotta show, here's the thing, we gotta show when we bond this, we gotta show that we have the money coming in from somewhere. And right now, we don't have the money coming in from anywhere. So we either don't do the water project, don't build the jail, which is not an option according, if we try not to build like they're already threatening to take our extra beds away, we'll be trucking, right now we're trucking prisoners 3, 4, 5 hours away, we'll be trucking them to other states.
And that's costly.
Way more than it would even to build a $50 million jail, I would guess, over time.
Do we have to pay for their keep?
We pay for everything, dental, medical, transportation, top of the line, everything, prescription drugs, we pay for it all. Even when we ship them, we have an agreement. It went from $85 a night to $100 a night for some of the jails that we ship, like the ladies to, which I think sounds almost reasonable, right? You can't go to a bed and breakfast for that. But the reality is, they're just housing them. We still have to pay all the medical, all the dental, all the prescription, anything that they may need.
And we're
Do
tying up.
do we plan to have both a women's and men's prison?
The prison will accommodate both, yes.
In a new building, or will the old?
In a new building, the old one will not work. Right now, the plan is, the site that we're trying to see if it will work as they're looking at a site is we own land just next to County Building Number 2, the old GCC value over by the town of Batavia. I think we own about 9 acres. We might need 10 or 11. I think there's an option to get a couple there. We only choose that because we own it already and it'll save us some money. Still in the process of seeing if there might be a better place as well.
So we have to completely abandon the old jail?
We don't know what we're going to do with the old jail.
How big is the new one?
The new jail, I don't know yet. Like, it's not done yet. Like, they're planning it out right now, so I'm not sure.
Hopefully it's big enough that we can bring people in from other towns that are in a pinch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like government being in the business, but if it works, yes. Not my ideal model, but you're never gonna get it perfect. You're never gonna build it exactly to what it needs to be. So if you build it too small, you're gonna be shipping still and you don't solve the problem. You probably gotta build it a little big and there's an opportunity for that. But I'm not a big fan of getting in the jail business, government, anything.
The way we're getting taxed, you might want to overbuild it a little bit.
Well, you might be right about that.
Andy, is there state money available for the
None.
jail?
Not one penny.
Seriously?
Nothing. Not one penny. You want to build almost anything, there's state money, but not a jail that they're making you build. I see it, and I understand your position, but we all represent the same people. And this community, we're in this together, right? This community, Genesee County, is tasked with some expensive things right now. And we're all gonna pay for it. You know, do we pull it out of the right pocket or the left pocket? It looks like we're deciding it's the right, and I'm sure you don't like it, but I don't know that we're not doing it like I think I get the feeling sometimes from the towns that we're bullying or we have no other option. There's no other, I mean, if you could think of it, please help me. I'd love to come up with something else. But I don't know that there's another way to do it. There's only a couple ways that it's designed that counties get money. And again, in part, and I know you don't want to hear it, but we've been extremely generous, the county. And I don't say we because I haven't been a part of it for very long, but we shared more than most. More than any if you count the roads and bridges in there, because we take care of those for you guys. Again, I know you don't want to hear it, but it's true.
From a cost standpoint, is in the new budget, are there new mandates coming down to the county level that we're gonna have to cover?
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain a few of them?
I'm not sure that we know we know them all yet. The raise the age is the one where they're going to treat 17 and 18-year-olds differently than they used to, and therefore they needed to be treated totally differently. in terms of how they go to court, how they're housed, how they're treated, mental, physical, and all that burden supposedly is going to come down on us, although they're saying they're going to pay some of it, and that's how they're dangling that tax cap on that particular one. Trying to think of what else. I mean, a recent one is, you know, we had to give the DA a $60,000-$70,000 raise because somebody in their infinite wisdom decided that the DA's full-time DA in the state has to make as much as the Supreme Court justices. And so we went from, it's $207,000, by the way. We had no choice. We got no dollars for it. We held out. I voted no every time. I think I voted no all the time. But they just would have made us do it one way or another anyway. So it finally came through and it had to happen. I can't think of examples, right? I'll get them all to you, but there are countless, and this budget is going to make that even worse.
That's my fear right now.
This budget already is making it worse, and I don't know that we even understand the magnitude of the budget right now, and I don't think it's going to get any better the way things are in Albany right now.
Where would the new jail be?
Right now we're thinking, you know where the town of Batavia Town Hall is?
Animal shelter.
Yep, right behind the animal shelter.
Right past Dave's Ice Cream.
Yep. We own that land, so that's what we gave the consultants, hey, we own this, it could save us some money. I think they're gonna look elsewhere because there may be better positioned places, but I'm guessing that that's where it's gonna come out. It is?
Since you mentioned it, I've suggested the idea, we use Elba School.
Oh, I've heard you say that.
Prison.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's on the right road.
The only problem is, and this is what everybody's telling us, it costs a lot more to retro a building than it does to build a new one, when it comes to jail. Again, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what we're being told.
Just a reminder for the what you call it, Friedman's job, county
District attorney.
district attorney.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's got to be, we're mandated to pay that job that much.
The same as our Supreme Court justice, yes.
Some counties do provide prosecutors for all of the courts. So whereas Larry's been a little tight with us, and he only prosecutes at the county level.
And you guys pay people to come here and do that, is that right?
Yes.
I don't know that that's Larry's decision, right? Wouldn't that be the legislature?
Yes.
I just want
I just wanted to
to,
point it out.
the DA's office, we pay for the traffic prosecutor. They actually come out a couple times a month for the arraignments and
Yeah.
misdemeanors, yeah, okay. I just didn't know if it was known.
We're still paying, it used to be free.
But as you said, we're
But it's like this much compared to the millions of dollars in sales tax revenue we share, right? I mean, it makes the point, but kind of pales in comparison, right?
I share Ron's thoughts about just the big hang up for me is the 40 years. Locking us in at 2018 rates for 40 years, and you think about an extra $2,000 in 2019, what's that $2,000 worth 40 years from now?
I understand that. One of the issues that I have is, if we were in a 40-year agreement right now with you guys, I don't know what the county would do. There would be no option. You know, again, I told you we only have two options. If we were contractually obligated to be giving you what we've been giving you, I don't know where would the I don't have any idea what would happen. Do I think the state's going to beat us again, and that's going to happen again? Absolutely. I mean, I just a matter of when and what it's going to be. So, do we want to put ourselves in a position where that could? I mean, I'm concerned about guaranteeing anything for 40 years. You don't want it because it's going to devalue the money over time, but I think that money's going to be needed somewhere, somehow, some way. This isn't going to be the last thing that, you know, a Democratic-controlled New York State is going to be putting down on us, whether it's this year or 5 years from now or 10 years from now. So, I mean, I share your concern of the 40-year agreement, but on the opposite side of that. And again, first of all, I don't even know if we're going to get a 40-year agreement, right? It's being discussed right now as to whether we'll even get it. If we don't get it, you know, I don't know what we're gonna spend $10 million or $5 million on a water plant that we don't need.
What if sales tax revenues slip instead of increase?
It could, very well could. People think that the internet sales tax that they're gonna start to institute is gonna be a big deal. Well, guess who's gonna take all that? It's in this budget. We don't really get, it doesn't look like we're gonna get much of the good news on that. And if we do, then we're gonna have to use the money to reinstate the AIM funding that they're taking from the towns and villages. So we're not gonna get an upstick in that. Could it go down? Absolutely. It's not a guarantee it's going up. It scares the heck out of me.
I mean, God forbid if something happened to Darien Lake,
It's a big one.
that's our cash cow.
I mean, I don't know what kind of effect losing a Kmart has, right? We're gonna see. Yes, sir.
Is there any room to renegotiate sometime in the next 40 years? I mean, if everybody involved in the agreement wanted to, could it be changed, or is it kind of, once you sign it, you're stuck with it?
I mean, there's always, again, I don't see this as adversary. We are in this together. I mean, I don't talk to you as much as I should, and I apologize for that, but we represent the same people, and, you know, it isn't good that the burden's coming on you, and it sounds like I'm pushing it on you. I don't really believe I have a choice but to do that, but, yeah, I mean, we certainly could do that. Again, the city would have to be a player in that, because the city controls the water.
Who would have the incentive to want to renegotiate?
It depends on what happens, right?
If you've got a 10 to a 218 rate, why would you want to renegotiate?
I mean, if revenues go down, it's.
Then why would we want to renegotiate? Yeah,
If
no,
they
it'll be
suddenly-
40 years and that's it.
Suddenly we get a giant economic boom in New York State and we grow, then maybe you'd feel willing to give a little more.
Almost passed away.
If we don't do a 40-year agreement and the city takes the position that they've taken, again, we're gonna put a lot of money into a water plant we don't need. Because we're still gonna need all the upgrades into water.
That makes sense there.
But our water comes from Monroe County.
It does, but we don't have enough. So we need to increase the water supply to the county.
So we buy it from Batavia.
No, it's all mixed together right now. So of the millions of gallons we use a day, some of it comes from the water plant, some of it comes from Monroe. It all runs through the same pipes. Yes, you guys have a retail agreement with Monroe County, but the water's got to get to the county somehow. I call it a big straw. Like right now, there's only a little straw. We need a bigger straw.
So Batavia controls it because they have the water plant.
Correct. And we have an agreement with them from 20 years ago where they own the plant, but we lease it and manage it.
Isn't the plan to
Get rid of it.
get rid of it?
Yes, it's not worth it.
Where are we with the pipeline coming out of Monroe County to supplement?
We're working on what we would call was phase 2 of the original water agreement, which won't put a big straw, but it will upgrade a bunch of pumps, and I'm not an engineer, but there's $5 million worth of stuff we can do that'll increase us 1.5 million gallons a day or whatever the number is, that will get us by until we can, that's phase 2. Phase 3, we're beginning the design phase of that as well. So they're kind of working in conjunction with each other. And then that's when the city of Batavia plant would go offline.
Right. So I've understood that they've got easements and everything of property to run the pipeline through Monroe County to get here.
Still working on it. We purchased a couple of pieces of land in Monroe County in anticipation of pumps that need to be put in there both for phase 2 and for phase 3. So we're thinking about them both. Right now we're committed to getting phase 2 done with an eye on phase 3, and we know we need to do it, but rather than come up with the 40 or 50 or 80 million dollars or whatever it's going to be, we're kind of putting a band-aid on a brain tumor that'll get us by a year or two.
By having the 40-year agreement, not that you wanna connect water and sales tax, but with that 40-year agreement with the city, basically taking that $10 million, putting it into the infrastructure for the new water versus a plant that's not gonna be used 10 years from now.
Exactly. Yes. It's an old plant that should go away. I mean, could we make it work if we had to? Yes. Is it the best option? No. Does it cost a whole lot more money to do it that way? Yes.